Hello, I'm Brigantia, Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Wednesday, and welcome back to Journey Through the Tarot. We are, of course, still using the Housewives Tarot deck by Paul Keppel and Jude Buffum. And this week we are examining death. I know. By all rights, this really should have come up in September. The timing would have been much more suitable, but nevertheless, here we are, first week of November, and now we're going to be talking about death. So, first and foremost, the initial impressions. This is obviously a very, very yucky scene. It's a jar full of salmonella. It's even labeled that way, and it's surrounded by the buzzing flies. You can see that in rotting vegetables actually on the bottom there. I'm not sure if that's a vegetable or a fruit, but it's grotesque. This really is revolting. Definitely not one of the cards that you admire for its beauty or for its aesthetic qualities. In fact, just looking at it, it gives me a little bit of a headache, and it just fills me with the desire to go and do a deep clean of the refrigerator. I know my refrigerator is in good order, but it's just so gross and ugh. And also, I would like to say that the thought of food poisoning through salmonella or whatever means, it does put me in mind of the suffering we experience through carelessness sometimes. So, let's look at the booklet. Now, the booklet has 3 key words for this card, which, well, 3 key phrases really. An unavoidable ending, loss, and necessary changes. And what they wrote is, something is rotten, you think. The expiration date has passed and the food has spoiled. You may be reluctant to throw it away, and you may try to convince yourself that a little mold never hurt anyone. Seriously, if you think like that, I don't want to know. But only a fool would dare eat food riddled with botulism. No matter how many preservatives are added, everything eventually goes stale. Though the death card may seem grim, but its message is a positive one. The ending is necessary to make a fresh beginning and a tastier future. And is that not the truth? Sometimes we do need things to come to an absolute end so that we can clear it out, get it out, and then start over fresh. That happens with our housekeeping. It certainly has relevance in our refrigerators and our pantries, but it also has relevance for our lives. So sometimes we just need to accept that something has passed and it's good that it's gone, and that this has opened up the doors to different opportunities for us. So when this comes up in a reading, first and foremost, this could be a confirmation that something that is very significant to the querent is well and truly over. And this can be very difficult for them to hear, because supposing it's in reference to, say, their marriage. No one really wants to hear that, especially if, even if a couple is going through tough times. If they think, well, if we just try harder or do this or do that, things can work out. If you get a sign of just no, that's not something people want to hear. So I would certainly advise keeping in mind that person's situation and their feelings in mind, because you just don't know how deep a chord this card can strike sometimes, depending on the context of the reading. Oftentimes the death card will come as advice to accept that an ending is actually permanent. And you'll notice when people are going through a more permanent change in their lives, so something is definitely over and there's just no walking that back, they will go through a similar grieving process to what happens when people die. And it's for a similar reason. It's because the ending that they have experienced is that permanent. And of course, one of the stages of grief is denial, or a desire to negotiate some way around it. And it's not fun, and there's no way to completely avoid that process, but I think it is good to occasionally accept signs when we get them of it happened, it's over, and it's not coming back. And it actually is for the best that this is going on, even if you don't feel it in the moment. So I think this is a little bit of that, not a kick in the pants, but certainly a very firm nudge that it is time to accept that things are what they are. The death card can also come as a challenge to stop living in the past, to get up and move on and move forward. It is very easy to get stuck, or to not only get stuck in the past, but get stuck into a very rigid mode, where we think that things have to be this certain way for us, otherwise we're not able to cope. And oftentimes this comes in response to trauma, And there's plenty of trauma that people go through in life, and you can understand why they adopted certain coping mechanisms or certain practices or even the way they reacted to things because it was necessary and appropriate at the moment of their trauma. However, day-to-day life is not that state of trauma, but it can be very difficult for people to let that go because of how deeply it affected them. So making small adjustments bit by bit of saying, not everything out there is out to get me. Not every situation is a dangerous one. Not every person out there wishes me ill or anything in particular. Most people simply are neutral towards me and me towards them. Making small little changes and saying, well, on the basis of that, I can do X, Y, or Z a little bit differently, or I can change something up in my daily routine because it's not necessary to protect myself as if I'm in a war zone because I'm no longer living in one. So there's a lot of different ways the death card can go in readings. It's really going to depend on context. If it comes up as a singleton card, well, especially if the clairvoyant isn't necessarily telling you what's going on with them, because not everybody does. But when it comes up just all on its own and it's just the card, it's the only thing that you can really do at that point is just say, it's over. Whatever has just ended, it is ended permanently. And the only thing you can do is to come to grips with that. So, that does it for the death card. Next week, we will be looking at Temperance with a cute little mixer. So that'll be interesting for us to look into. But for now, if you have not already, please join us at Blackbird's Brew, especially if you're interested in talking about divination. All of us are, been working on that a lot more lately. There is a link in the description box below to join. And of course, subscribe to this channel, like the video, and leave me a comment. But that is it for now. I shall see you in another video. Bye.